Hello and welcome back. Happy Easter. I hope you all had a nice weekend and a safe weekend, and I hope you and your families are doing well. This is the help video for the week of April 13th for the Howell Beginner Percussion. We've got some review things in here, and we've got some new things as well, so let's get started. So as usual, we're going to get started with our warm-up. If you're practicing for 20 minutes a day, I suggest spending at least 5 minutes of that on your warm-up. Like I said last week, this is really going to help develop you into a great percussionist and build those good solid habits so that when you start to play more complicated music, your hands will do what your brain is telling them to do. So we're going to start with 8 on a hand. This is 160 beats per minute. And you can practice that one. Push yourself. Experiment with different tempos. That was 160, but you can do this at 200. You can do it at 120 with eighth notes, 140 with eighth notes. Push yourself and see how fast you can go with that one. We'll do exercise 4-2-1. We'll do exercise 2, stick control 1. I'll just try stick control 1 in eighth notes, just so that you can hear what that sounds like. I'll do it on 100, but I'll make this exercise eighth notes. And again, the idea with this one is to make it sound even all the way through. But don't just let the warm-ups be going through the motions. Challenge yourself to make it better than the time before, and also push yourself when it comes to tempo and dynamics and things like that. So don't be afraid to do some trial and error and try to get your technique faster and smoother. So this is exercise 2, stick control 1. This is going to be in eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So don't be afraid to push yourself and try things like that, and it'll only improve your technique as long as you're paying attention to the details and making sure that your sound is your best sound all the time. Exercise 3, this is another good one to put with eighth notes. We usually play this one at 160 in class, but you'll be amazed at how smooth it gets when you put it at 160 with eighth notes instead of quarter notes. So this is 4 and 4 buzzes, but I'm just going to try with eighth notes and see what you think of this. So instead of playing let's try with eighth notes. Pretty cool, huh? And that's the start of having really nice buzz rolls. So don't try to jump up to the tempo right away. You can work your way up there, but that's an example of pushing yourself and trying to make your technique better through doing these warm-ups. We'll look at exercise 4B. Of course, you'll play 4A also to isolate those double strokes, but let's look at exercise 4B. I'll keep it at 160. So this is exercise 4B. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't forget to do the left hand. Now there's one more exercise that is not on this sheet, but we have practiced it in class before, and that's the flam tap exercise, where we're just playing flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap. Now remember, the main note of the flam is, we're going to start this on the right hand, so that means the grace note is going to be on the left hand, flam. So my left hand starts low, my right hand starts high, flam, flam, tap. So that right hand flam is followed by a single on the right hand, and then we switch, left, left. So let me play the flam tap exercise for you. I'm going to slow this way down. We're going to go to about 100, but you can even do it slower than 100 if you need to. So I'm going to start it at 100, and I'm going to play flam taps, and I'm just going to repeat this and get comfortable with that. This is a basic flam rudiment, but of course, as you get older in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, the flam rudiments are going to get much more complicated. But you've got time to get it right. If you practice your flam taps now and the simple flam rudiments and get those good habits built in, those more complicated flam rudiments are going to come much easier to you. So here's 100 beats per minute, and I'm just going to play some flam taps. It won't be perfect at first. It's going to take you a while to get used to it. Be patient with yourself. It's okay. So here's flam taps. Flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap, flam, tap. And if you practice these every day, each time you do it, it'll get a little bit better, and that's all that you have to do, and get better and better each day, and before long, those flams are going to be second nature to you. All right, let's move on to the next section. Okay, so next we're going to look at page 60 and 61. We're looking at the appendixes for Lesson 8 and also Lesson 9. We'll start with Lesson 8. Lesson 9 has a new rhythm in it, but I don't want that to scare you off. It's going to be very simple. But Lesson 8 we'll start with first. These actually are the rhythms that you focused on last week for your playing test, and so these should be very familiar to you. So this is going to be like some review on these rhythms. This kind of focuses on the 1E and rhythm. There's other rhythms in here, but it focuses on that, which is 2 16th notes followed by an 8th note on one beat, 1E and, or 2E and, or 3E and, or 4E and, depending on what beat that it's on. So you guys are very proficient with those. So I'm just going to count number 1 for you. I've got the metronome on 80 beats per minute. That's a pretty slow tempo, but keep in mind we're doing 16th notes. So again, be patient with yourself. You speed the tempo up too much, it gets difficult to count 16th notes. So this is 80 beats per minute, and I'll just count through number 1 on page 60. This is lesson 8, number 1. 1E and 2, 3E and 4, 1E and 2, 3E and 4, 1E and 2, 3E and 4, 1E and 2, 3E and 4. And we can look at a number of other rhythms on here. I do want you to go through all of them like you did with the appendices last week. Once you get started with them, they should fly by. But even if you wanted to focus on a couple a day and work your way through the week that way, that might be something to do as well. I want to look at number 8, which is at the top of page 61. Let's just count this one. This is mixing in 1E and with 1E and, but it does it in a pretty simple way. But let's count number 8, which is about a quarter of the way down page 61. So here's number 8. 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and, 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and, 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and, 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and of course, if you get bored counting them, you can always play them. 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and, 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and, 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and, 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4E and. And I hope you notice that I'm using a motor rhythm sticking for all these, and that's very important. So we're going to look at lesson 9 appendix now. This is a new rhythm, but I don't want this to scare you off again. It looks very similar to 1E and as a matter of fact, it really is similar to 1E and. The difference is the 8th note is now at the beginning, and the 2 16th notes at the end. So it's kind of reversed. So the way that we count this is 1 and a. Okay? So the long note is at the beginning. The 8th note is at the beginning. 1 and a, and it ends with 2 16th notes. So I may just turn the metronome on and count through number 1 for you. Now, keeping in mind this is a new rhythm, baby steps and get comfortable with it. This is not something that you're playing for a test this time around, so this is really your opportunity to get familiar with it and recognize it when you see it. Here we go. This is number 1 on lesson 9. This is about halfway down page 61. So let me count through number 1 for you. 1 and a 2, 3 and a 4. 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 And just for fun, let's count through number 2. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and. So hopefully that sheds a little bit of light onto how that rhythm works. If you're trying to play these, I strongly encourage you to play them. You don't have to, but the motor rhythm sticking, just to be thorough on this, you guys could probably figure this out on your own. But the motor rhythm sticking for this one is going to be right, right, left. The reason for that is if we were just to have 4/16 notes, of course, that's going to be right, left, right, left. And you can think of one and as leaving the first left hand out. One and See, I played the missing note on my leg there. One and one and So it'll be right, right, left. So that's the way the motor rhythm sticking works with this. Again, you could probably figure that out on your own. But count your way through all the lesson 9 lines as well, and then we'll start to incorporate these one and rhythms into what we're playing from now on. So that's all the counting stuff that we're going to do for this week. Now let's move on to your playing test on page 23. All right, finally, let's look at the bottom of page 23. This should look very familiar to you. We have done this one already, so this is going to be a chance for you to review and to improve on what you did the last time. So this is number 7. I'm going to go ahead and play through it for you, and then we'll talk about some specific things. So here is number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there it is. The tempo is 80 beats per minute. That's going to be your test tempo. And so it's a little bit slower than what's marked, but that's okay. If you can play it faster, by all means play it faster. But I'd like you to try it at 80 at least. So noticing these flam rudiments right away. Flam, rest, flam, tap, flam, tap. Very important that you at least get the first 4 measures mastered. It's going to make the rest of this much, much easier. But those are it just starts with stating the basic flam rudiments on which the etude is built. Measure 3, we have paradiddles. Right, right, followed by left, right, left, left. But if you're counting the rhythm, remember that this is 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. After that, we have a couple of 5-stroke rolls. Notice the sticking in there. On beat 2 and on beat 4 in measure 4. Remember, these are not 2 and or 4 and because they have slashes. It's 2 and 4 and with double strokes. Each slash represents a double stroke. So measure 4 is 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1. So 5-stroke rolls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what those are. We've got some more paradiddles, some more flams. We've got some longer rolls here near the end. And I want you to focus on the quality of those double strokes, just like we did with the double stroke exercise on page 73. And so treat them the same way that you treat that, and it may even be a good idea to take. Let's see, what measure number is it? It's 4 from the end. It's right where the repeat starts. We're not taking the repeat, by the way. But it's 4 from the end, and it's where we have 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. That's right off of page 73. If you've been working on your double strokes, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, and getting the quality of those up, relax your fingers a little bit, let the stick move around in your hand. This is going to be no problem for you. But again, it's something that I advise practicing a little bit every day. So let me go through this again, and I'll count through it with you, and that'll be it. So this is number 7. Again, this time I'll count. Okay? Here we are. 1, 2, ready, go. Flam, 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 tap, flam, tap. Paradiddle, paradiddle. 1, 5-stroke roll, 5-stroke roll. Flam, paradiddle, tap, 5-stroke roll, tap, flam, tap. Paradiddle, tap. 1, doubles. Okay, so that's all there is to it. If you have questions about that one, please reach out. I'd hate for you to wait until the last minute and then not know how to do something. So if you do have questions, look at it early and feel free to ask me on Teams. Otherwise, that's it for the week of April 13th. Have fun playing this music, and I look forward to seeing your assignments. Thanks, guys.